In the skies above Taloraan, fight the Empire for control of the Tibanna gas platforms. But be careful not to harm the civilian operations there.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Play Star Wars Rogue Squadron. In this episode, we're going to be going on to the last third of the game, Chapter 3. All of the missions ahead of us, you can see right here, we've got an A-Wing only mission. All of the missions ahead of us are very vehicle specific, and they're also all very hard, especially if you're going for gold medals. Taloraan is the very first mission that we're going to have that's really just going to bite us. We've had a couple of missions like this in the past. Kyle 2 was a struggle. Jade Moon gave us a bit of trouble, but nothing quite to the degree that Taloraan is going to give us. We got a crawl here explaining the fact that, well, it's actually spoilers for things that are going to come up later on in the missions as the missions go on. But basically, they've waited into the last third of the game to introduce our villain. Yes, Rogue Squadron actually has a villain beyond just the nebulous Empire. There's actually supposed to be a personality behind the Imperial activities that we've been faced so far. The local governor, Moff Searden, you saw his name a little bit ago there. Basically, he's in charge of all the planets from Kyle 2 out, and as well as a couple of other planets in this sector, and he's basically made it his personal mission to go after Rogue Squadron. And at the same time, Kason Moore used to work under him, so she has kind of made it her personal vendetta. It's never stated in the games, but she's basically made it her vendetta to shut him and his operations down, because she knows that he's a dangerous man, and that he has some very dangerous weapons and tactics under his control. Taloraan is going to be a very major part in playing how we're going to be playing that against him, because this is actually a fairly important facility for him, which Kason will explain in a little bit. You have some nice opening pan down to a planet, and here come the A-Wings.
Taloraan. It's a beauty.
Unfortunately, the Imperials own it. They harvest the Tibanna gas to use in their weapons. It increases their firepower. They process and store it on these floating platforms.
There are civilians down there too, so make sure what you're shooting at is Imperial. We're here to take out their Tibanna gas supplies and do whatever damage we can to the local TIE fighter squadron.
Huh. Now I know what it's like to be on the other side of one of these little raids.
Alright, so what you heard them talk about there is the fact that this mission is a hit-and-run mission, very much like the Imperial Construction Yard facility earlier.
It's the Tibanna gas.
Basically, everything with an Imperial symbol there you see is under Imperial control, and so you want to destroy it. But everything with the blue stripe is civilian. It's neutral. You don't want to destroy those, because then you're going to get the planet. You're going to turn the planet against the rebels. So you have to balance your tactics by with being fast and strong against the Imperials there, while also being somewhat judicious with your shots fired. The accuracy requirement for this level is insanely high. It's the highest, I think it's the highest in the game, something like 70% for a gold medal. So you have to be very picky and choosy about where you're shooting when. Obviously, I'm not going to get a gold here. I've been spraying and praying. But there is a problem with this mission, which makes the accuracy requirement even harder than it should be, in the fact that the hitboxes for most of these things on the platforms, both the containers and some enemies we'll be facing a little bit later on, are actually bugged. The hitboxes are really off, so that if you get too close, your lasers will actually go right through them and hit whatever's directly behind them. So you can be shooting at an Imperial you can be shooting at an Imperial gas tank and end up hitting a civilian one behind it, and that'll count against you, even though you're obviously shooting something Imperial. And obviously, as well, your accuracy goes down. You can see me putting the homing missiles that we got last mission into good use. It's important, desperately important, that you get that upgrade in the last mission, because otherwise this level you will not survive. This level is that hard. Alright, so I was thinking that you can't dumbfire your missiles now that they home in, but you actually can. You just have to double tap the button. which means that your firing rate is effectively cut in half, but it is possible if you're getting too close to just fire off a missile real fast without having to wait for it to lock on. The lock-on feature locks onto the enemy closest to the crosshairs. Usually, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it'll lock onto almost a random enemy. I've linked my lasers there to help with my accuracy a little bit, but it actually isn't that useful because it still takes 2 or 3 bursts to wear through a gas tank, and that takes a little bit too long. The A-Wing swivel guns actually also are a bit of a pain in this level because they'll aim at things that you're not aiming the crosshairs at, which means that your lasers will be flying off in whatever direction, and your accuracy score is going to go way down. One thing though, your AI partners, Wedge and Kaysen, are actually both very, very competent. They will take down not only TIE fighters, but also sweep the platforms and get any tanks that you miss. Of course, that's going to depend on how many tanks you actually manage to get with those turrets there. Those turrets are actually bugged even worse than the containers, in that they're almost impossible to hit if you're up close. You really have to be farther away using lasers or missiles to hit them reliably. TIE fighters are going to be sweeping down at you from all sides. Most of the TIEs do respawn in this level. Occasionally you come across a bunch that doesn't. But basically, your goal is to sweep across the platforms, destroy the Imperial tanks and any turrets that happen to get in your way, and then get out, because you can't fight all of the TIEs and meet the accuracy requirement. It just simply can't be done, not unless you're really insanely good at this game, which I'm not. So I know already that I'm not going to be getting a gold medal, but this hopefully I'll be able to get at least a silver.
There's a lot of Imperial activity up here.
No kidding, Kaysen? Really? But yeah, homing missiles are definitely going to come a lot in handy if you want to clear out some TIEs, or if you want to hit that 1 or 2 pesky turrets that you just can't seem to hit. You can see I just dumb-fired a missile by accident. Completely missing the platform, by the way. The tanks don't take all that much damage to destroy. Just, I want to say 5 or 6 laser shots will end it. But the problem is reliably hitting them, because then you're going to have to, you basically have to fire in bursts. The turrets themselves there, they do about as much damage and take about as much damage as turrets, regular turbolaser turrets, except obviously, sorry about that, yawn. Basically, since their hitbox is so off, it seems like they take a lot more damage than they actually can. So that, and they also have a slightly narrower profile, so they're a little bit harder to hit from long range. Of course, if you can get your missiles to work, then that's going to be a great help to you. You can see that Rebel Blockade Runner that we've been... it's basically been following us through this mission. I don't think it has any weapons on it. I haven't seen it fire at anything.
Excellent work.
It's just basically there to provide a target that the enemy AI can go after aside from you, which is good because there are a lot of AI fighters in this, especially in the later half of the mission. You can see there's this nice big swarm of TIEs that come after you there. If you turn around and attack those TIEs from behind, you can actually get a lot of really nice kills.
Started at once for a possible Imperial takeover. Too small, though.
So Kaysen was there mentioning the fact that Bespin is a lot smaller than this. Smaller than this facility, which I guess makes sense. It's kind of foreshadowing the fact that keep in mind, this takes place in between Episode 4 and Episode 5, so Bespin hasn't been occurred to the Rebels yet as a place to go. And obviously, Luke never really went there. It was Han and Leia, so she's kind of talking to the wrong group of people for foreshadowing. But there's an upgrade right down here. That's a very, very important upgrade.
Advanced lasers.
Advanced lasers. This makes your lasers 1.5 times more powerful, which is incredibly helpful. Then this last platform is probably the hardest one, in that you're up against missile turrets, which can take you down from half health, as you just saw there, to 0 in one shot. Thankfully, though, these missiles do not home in like the ones that you face on the ground do. These turrets are scarily accurate, but as long as you keep moving and keep like zigzagging through the air, they're not going to hit you, at least not very often. And believe me, in an A-Wing, you've got to try to Wow, that was close. You got to try to get hit as least as possible. But one last burst in the last tank, and we're done.
I can tell you one thing, Luke. The officer on duty is not going to enjoy explaining this damage to the local Moth.
He may not live to tell about it. Moff Theoden is notoriously unforgiving.
That's not a question. He's notoriously unforgiving. That's not a question, Kason. So, yep, silver. But you can see we failed in 3 categories there. Enemy count, time, and accuracy. The accuracy is 70%. That's a lot. So, yeah, this is not an easy mission to gold by any means, but I will be showing you that video very shortly, and I will also be, hopefully, showing you gold medals of the next mission. Ah, Force help us.